Hi, my name is Russell Stannard. I'm the tutor on the PowerUp Flipping Your Class course, which has been shortlisted for the Elton's Innovation Awards in 2017. Now, this course is a collaboration between NILE and Teacher Training Videos. The course has really been well received. The feedback from previous participants has been excellent, and obviously being shortlisted for the Eltons is a bonus. Now, Tom Kiddle from NILE and myself, we sat down, we looked at the research, we talked about our own experiences. Obviously NILE has a lot of experience running online courses, and we basically compiled a list of key principles that should underpin a good online course. And what I thought would be interesting to do is to show you those principles. So I'm going to talk through them, and afterwards I'm actually going to show you an example, or I'm going to show you our example, our flipped class, and try to point out how we linked some of the principles to the way that the course was organized. So let's start by first of all going through the principles, and then we'll take a quick peek at the actual course itself. Now, this looks like a pretty long list here. These are really the key principles that underpinned the way that we designed the whole course. I'm going to talk through them as quickly as I can, and some of them are linked, though each one of these is very specifically an individual point about the way that you can think about developing online courses or blended learning courses. I'm going to try and be as precise as I can with each of these things and just very quickly talk about them, and then, as I said, afterwards we're going to look at the course and see how the two link together. So the first thing is teacher presence. Now, if you're in a face-to-face course, you meet your teacher every time you have a class. You know who the teacher is, the course is generally led by the teacher, and therefore there isn't really a problem of teacher presence. When you do an online course, it's quite likely that you don't meet your teacher at all. Therefore, how you build up a relationship with your teacher is very difficult. It can be particularly difficult if the teacher has chosen that on their particular course there's lots of use of YouTube videos and podcasts and web links and PDF files from third parties. In other words, the teacher didn't produce all of the material. So there are some key tricks that we've added into our course to make sure that there's a strong teacher presence. And for example, you'll notice at the beginning of every single unit on the course there's a video from me. We filmed them in different parts of the world when I was traveling around, where I introduced the different units of the course, and you'll notice that nearly all of the content is actually produced by me as well. And that's important to build teacher presence into a course, particularly when it is a distance learning course. And in fact, that links back to the last point here as well, which we'll look at the end, and that is the way that we've also given the feedback on the course. We've done it in a particular way that uses video so that you can hear my voice and see me working through your course, and again that helps with teacher presence. The second point, which is consistency, is kind of really related more to the area of design and how courses should be designed. And the person that I particularly find interesting is someone called Nielsen, who's done a lot of research into the way that websites and educational sites and all sorts of content that people need to navigate through, a key principle is for that course to be consistent. In other words, that each page is laid out in a similar way with similar titles, so that the students or the user of the site very quickly becomes familiar with the layout and the organization of the content. And that builds in a lot of kind of security on the part of the student, because they realize that, you know, that's the way the course is organized. They know what to expect, they know how the course is going to be laid out, and therefore they don't get the feeling that they've missed anything or that they have to search around and find the content. So being consistent, using consistent titles, headers, icons, etc. is absolutely vital. Points 2 and 3 are kind of related, talking here about clear navigation. When you build a course, particularly a course using something like perhaps Blackboard or Moodle, there is the tendency for the course to be just a series of links, and what we can do is try to kind of build the course in a way that uses different pages, and you'll see that we've managed to achieve that in the course that we've produced. So our course has buttons that you click on and you move through to another page, etc. And students are obviously familiar with working this way through many different types of websites and blogs, etc. So that really helps. So avoiding that kind of list of links is a key thing, and linked to that as well is the use of space and images. Again, in tools like Moodle and Blackboard, there are ways of using certain types of content, for example books, they call them labels and different things, and of course the use of images that mean that the actual content seems more like a website and less like a series of links. And that can be achieved through just a little bit of knowledge of Moodle and a little bit of knowledge and thought into the way that you organize the content. You'll see how consistent our course is, how we've used buttons, how we've used space and pages to really create this kind of feeling that you're working through almost a website. The next point I want to make is about content, and I'm going to again link a few of these ideas together, these three really. We can talk about them, though they are all separate points. Too much content. Now, this was first brought to my attention in about 2015. I was at a conference, excellent presenter, talking about the fact that many blended learning courses are actually developed originally from a face-to-face course. So the teacher was teaching the course as usual, then the internet came along, Web 2.0 came along, YouTube came along, etc. And so it became possible to share lots of links and videos and podcasts and slide shares, etc. within a course, and particularly when universities, institutions began to use things like Blackboard and Moodle. And the result of that is that the course simply became too big. And certainly I can vouch from my own experience when I first started blending my courses, that I added to the face-to-face course, and really what I produced was a course that was very large with lots and lots of content on it, and it became far too cumbersome. So one of the things that we try to do on this course is be really selective with the content that we've chosen. There's one reading, there's one video in the food for thought section. We've really tried to make sure that all of the content that is in the course is applicable and relevant to what we're trying to cover and what we're going to assess as well. Now, another point linked to that is what I call growth. And I've actually experienced this myself. Recently I was on a course, a MOOC, about the American Revolution, and within that course it started off and the course was okay. I had a fair amount of content, but very quickly students began to add to the chat, add to the forums, add to the wiki, and of course that is all content that you can interact with, and of course the course gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's really important to make sure that you are aware that when you produce a course that's got forums and chat windows and wikis, etc., that of course the course itself will get a lot bigger. And that kind of links into the next point, and that is, therefore, we wanted to be very selective about the use of forums and the use of chats, but not only because we were aware that if you use them too often they become too big and too cumbersome, but also because it's important that if we are going to use forums and chats, that we kind of summarize and bring all the ideas together that are shared. Because one of the problems is that often on blended learning and on online courses, the students work through the forums, they work through the chats, and nobody kind of summarizes or pulls out the key points. So one of the things we do on this course is that I am constantly writing a kind of blog, which is almost like a weekly commentary about the way that the course is developing, and any points that come up in the chats or the forums that I think are interesting, I highlight them in this blog, as well as any questions that people message to me. So forums and chats need to be very carefully used in courses. We need to be aware that they can easily be overused. It's important that we refer back to them if we are going to make use of them, so that students really understand that we are using the chat or the forum. And we also need to be aware that the content in forums and chats and wikis will actually become content on the course, and therefore the course becomes too big. We really need to keep that in mind. So as I just sort of made the point there, not using input from participants, that's also linked to it then. In other words, if you're going to do a chat or a forum, make sure that you refer back to it either in some kind of summary or in some kind of commentary or in a presentation, to make sure that we really are making use of the content and the ideas that the participants themselves add to the course. I wanted to bring the next point in just to make a point to you that's really clear. You can have a consistent layout. That is, you can have consistent sections that the students know in each unit they're going to come across. But what you put in those sections can vary. So one of the things is that people often think there's a contradiction between consistency and having a variety of course content. And that doesn't have to be the case. As long as you've got a consistent and well organized kind of format that the students need to work through and that they're clear about, what content goes inside those formats, whether it's a podcast, a video, or a screencast, blog post, etc., that can vary. So plenty of variety in courses, even though the actual organization of the learning content is very, very consistent, so that it's easy for the students to become familiar with it. There's lots of ways of adding support into an online course. I make really good use of videos on the PowerUp Flipping Your Class course. So that is every time that there's a mini assessment to do at the end of each unit, we call it a mini task, then I've kind of given a clear video showing you exactly what I'm expecting. At the beginning of the course there's a quick kind of journey through the course, so it clearly shows you how to navigate through the content and what to expect. All of those things add an extra layer of support for students and help them, but also it's very important that we have a messaging system, and this kind of links into the next point here, and that is that often not all students want to share their concerns publicly. So we're very much in these days to what we call social constructivism, students working together collaboratively, etc. But there are times when students don't want to reveal a problem that or a challenge they're having on the course, or they don't want to share a question with everyone else, perhaps because they feel that it's a simple question and that they, that perhaps there's some face value involved in that. So for that reason, we always make sure that there's a messaging system that really makes a clear link between myself and the students on the course. And right from the beginning, from day one, we message everyone, say, right, this is a way that you can contact me. Now, the other interesting thing about the messaging system kind of comes back to the point I made earlier about blogging. So we have this kind of ongoing blog on the course, which really is my kind of diary of what's happening on the course. So students might message me with specific questions, and then I will mention in the blog, someone has mentioned this as question, here's the answer, but I won't actually say who that is. So it's a really nice way, if anyone raises a question in a private message to me that I feel should be shared publicly, I can do that in the blog without actually mentioning the student's name. And this works really well, and it's helped us to kind of make sure that all the students feel well supported. Sometimes students are very happy to ask their questions publicly or state their doubts or challenges, etc. But sometimes it really should be a private affair. So support and offering different ways of being able to message the tutor, they're absolutely key to a well-organized online course. We spent a lot of time talking about the assessments on the course. It was something that Tom was particularly concerned about, making sure that the assessments link very tightly to the content of the unit, making sure that the assessments really were clear and that the students understood exactly what they were meant to be doing. So that again has come back to the point I made earlier about the support. But more importantly is that these assessments have a kind of self-evaluation. So once you've done the assessment, you fill in the criteria to say, yes, I know I can do this, now I know I can do that. And that's a really good kind of gauge for us sitting in the background as tutors, looking at the course and making sure that the students are managing to work through the material. So it makes an important point. You don't always have to intervene on mini assessments during a course. If you think of ways of making use of, for example, kind of feedback system where the student, or a questionnaire where the students just choose a series of tick boxes and say yes, happy, 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 done all that, and now they know they can move on. If obviously they put that they're unhappy and they're not achieving something, then we can intervene. So it's very much about self-evaluation, as well as making sure that the assessments themselves are tightly linked to the content and relevant to the final assignment that we're asking the students to do. The feedback at the end of the course has been a feature that has been highlighted by a number of students in the feedback that we've had. They've said that we really like the way you give feedback at the end of the course. The feedback that we give at the end of the course is done via video. So just like now, I'm recording myself, recording the screen of my computer, we do exactly the same to give the feedback on the students' work. So we open the students' work onto the screen, turn on screen capture recording software and record ourselves going through the students' work, going through their flipped classroom and giving them tips. And that really is helpful to them. We can provide much more information. They can clearly see what we're looking at on the screen. And in the feedback from the students, most of them have highlighted that as a key feature. And that actually relates strongly back to the very first point. In other words, the use of the voice, the fact that I actually open the students' work onto the screen and work through it and give direct feedback onto their work by recording myself going through their work, really does increase the teacher presence. Okay, so we've covered all these points. I'm sorry that I've had to rush through them. There are many points that have really kind of underpinned the way that we design this course. Let's have a quick look now at the PowerUp Flipping Your Class course and see if we can pull out some of these points that we've made here. So here is the PowerUp course, Flipping Your Classes. We're taking the example here from November 2016. Straight away you can see a video here which you can click on and watch, where I take you on a little tour of the course, and you can access the 2 webinars at the beginning and at the end of the course from here. Look at the content immediately. If you look underneath, you just simply click on one of these boxes, and I'll just give you an example. You just click, and then you click on unit, and you come into the course. Now we've repeated the video at the top of the screen. Remember, I talked about teacher presence and the importance of teacher presence. So we have this video at the top of the screen which introduces that unit, and we always use a very consistent format. So I introduce the unit, we then come to the learning content of that particular unit, and then afterwards we come down to a section called reading, just one piece to read, and then a food for thought. So yes, the food for thought sections do include input from other teachers, but as I said, the majority of the content is produced by myself. And you'll notice that the unit tasks include videos to make it really clear what we're asking you to do, and you'll also notice that there is a self-check. So once you've done the task, you can ask yourself, have you done it? Are you happy with what you've done? Now look how easy it is to navigate through the content. I can literally click here and go straight to the next page. And lots of people ask me, Russell, how have you built this course? Well, we built it in Moodle, and you can even use these buttons here to move through the different units of the course, either to the unit before or the unit after. You can always come back to your home page, and notice even on the home page here that you've got buttons at the top of the screen. So this is one of the things that a lot of the students have come back to us and said, wow, the way the course is organized, it almost feels like we're working through a website. Remember, I mentioned to you there's Russell's blog commentary. So students can contact me through the messaging system, and I pick up on things that come up in the forum. And as I've said, it's very limited. We just use the forum in very specific cases. But what we do have here is like a blog, an ongoing blog, where I pick up on any questions, any issues that have raised. I do not mention the person's name. I simply say, this has been a question that's been asked to me, or I've noticed this, or this has come up in the forum. And for example, a lot of the times what I do is make videos to actually deal with any problems that have come up. And if someone's asking me a question, then the easiest way often is just to make a video and show them how to do that particular or deal with that particular challenge. So that's another key part of the course. Now just coming back to one thing then, and this was, as I said, really important. We just looked at Snagit unit on using a screen capture tool called Snagit. We're going to look at the unit on using YouTube. And again, if we click on the content button and come in, you'll notice that starts with an introduction video from me, then I explain what we're going to learn in the unit, then we come to the unit content, then after the unit content we come down, we've got something to read, and then we've got the food for thought section, and then we've got the assessment. So every single unit works in this way. And again, keep in mind that nearly all the content, apart from the content in these last little sections, has been produced by myself. All of these videos here, which obviously you can click on and watch full screen. All of the videos on the actual website are produced by myself. So that's some of the features that we brought in to really help to make this a very successful course. And I have to say, the feedback that we've had on the 5 or 6 courses that we've now run has been absolutely phenomenal, and I have to keep my fingers crossed that we can keep maintaining that level. So hope that helped. Got a bit of an idea of how the principles that went into developing this course. Those are principles that you could certainly use in the development of your own online courses, and most of those principles relate both to a blended learning course as well as an online course, though some of them are specific to online learning. Hopefully that's helped you a little bit, and thank you very much.